am Orlando Jones, and I just want you to know that the Moana Nui podcast will be starting soon. Stay tuned, yo.
I'm Veronica Taylor, and from myself and Ash Ketchum, I just want to say, Moana Nui, I choose you!
Can we start with DragonCon? Because I know you've attended a lot as, not necessarily as a guest. Like you popped in.
Oh, I love popping. Yeah.
And now you come in as a guest. So can we start with DragonCon first and foremost? How an amazing convention it is.
Okay, I love DragonCon for many reasons. One, I'm from Atlanta. I love fandoms. I'm like big into, well, if it's TV related, I watch it. You know, they're like, "Do you play this?" I'm like, I'm too busy watching everything. But yeah, DragonCon I've been coming to for easily over a decade. I've done panels as a sound person, as a boom operator, and I've just like, I've always loved coming, and I'd always like, I don't know, I'd always be here like at 8 p.m. and I'd be leaving like at 4 a.m. for the parties, obviously, but you know, but seeing all that. But it's, I don't know, it's fun seeing Atlanta just sort of like celebrate this thing that's Atlantan. And not so much it's closed down because everywhere else in the country or world, wherever, you know, like the holidays and stuff. I like that this is like the Atlanta holiday week. And it's also, DragonCon is like the kick, like even as a Jew, I still like Christmas, you know, I still, you know, I like the lights and the trees, and I like looking at it, and I always feel like it used to be like Halloween sort of starts the holidays, but to me, I'm always like, oh, DragonCon it starts, then we have Halloween, that's going to be Thanksgiving, then we do the Christmas, New Year's, and then Valentine's Day if I'm not being like a terrible husband, and then my birthday. So it's a good, and then I sit for 6 months and I wait. But yeah, starts with DragonCon, the holiday season.
What got you started into impressions?
Impressions are as like what got me started in impressions is sort of like how the same way we hear a song and we want to sing along to it, or but you sort of want to mimic the sound, or you hear a bird and you whistle at it. So it's sort of, you just want to, how did they make that sound? And then impressions is sort of like the beginning also of what gets you into acting in a way. Because sometimes, you know, people do the voice. They can do a voice of somebody, but then they don't have the same, they're not imitating sort of the emotion or like the reason why they, like how they say things, you know? Like, why does it sound like that? So you hear people do the walk-ins, and you're like, you know, the one I've been, gonna blame Ross. He's gonna be like, why did you mention my name? But we just like doing the Trump imitation just because it's so like distracting. Like on set, it's one of the most distracting things, and it's like, okay, everybody, we're going back to number one. Everybody, start your places. It's going to be a beautiful shot. We're going to make it excellent, and you know. So you do this thing, but then how do you go question like, oh, it's a guy that feels like, you know, I always say it because like it's a soothing voice, but it's like he's never wrong in his mind. So if you say something so confidently, and everything I tell you is going to be completely the best thing you've ever heard, you're welcome. And it sort of adds a little bit, you put a little bit of that, why does he sound like that? And so that's the same thing though when you're looking at a character, when you're given a script, you go, why are they saying that line? You know, and a lot of people, they want to change the dialogue, and I'm like, yeah, that's the easy part, you know, but it's like you can change dialogue and make it sound better for you, but in my mind I'm like, but why did they say it like that? So we're gonna, you know, and I've played characters where I'm like, what am I saying? Why am I, you know, I say like, you know, I have a character that he says very odd things, and I'm like, I've never heard this phrase in my life, and you have to find a reason why they say that. So impressions, Cooper Andrews does Donald Trump, that's gonna be great. But the impressions, it comes from that. I kind of want to know why they make that sound. Like we listen to a bird, so it's like, here's my imitation of a bird. So I like to whistle. When they can't talk about movies, they talk about whistling. So you hear a bird, I'm like, oh, it does this little, you know, you have all these, I don't know, so I like impersonating animals too. I'm terrible at it, but I feel like when you watch a dog, they give you all the emotion and none of the dialogue, and you can sort of see it. So when you see like a dog, you know, they tell a lot with their ears, but even not, you, as an actor, you can still like tilt your head and go, why? You know, and then you just, so I study I study animals more than humans because animals are honest and humans, we're all, you know, when actors like, oh, I watched this actor and I learned from them. I'm like, yeah, you're learning a part of them, but I feel like to get true honesty, follow an animal. Unless there's a dog, you know that. You're a lying dog. I'm like, I've never seen a dog lie down, but not like be deceptive. They try to be, and they're terrible at it. That's why I go, oh, come here. Come on, get away from that area. Let me show you this, you know? And it's like, what are you hiding? Nothing. I just love you and I miss you. So I don't know. That kind of I don't know how we got to there, but yeah. that's that.
What are your top 3 impressions?
My top 3 impressions? I do I like doing a James Earl Jones. Everything the lion touches is this, because he has this way of enunciating his mouth, and it's big and wide. And so when he says it all, then he has this, he's fighting that mumble he had. So as his words and everything he says, you know, you enunciate everything. And then so like, what is that like flesh stronger than steel? He says STEEL, but you can hear each vowel in every word he says. So that's sort of like, and people sometimes try to throw in like this little British thing, but it's not quite that. He just uses the full word and makes, so the New Atlantic Yellow Pages. So like my James Earl Jones, that was a little rough, but like my James Earl Jones, we've been sort of having fun. This is a terrible one, but doing like a J.K. Simmons. We're just sort of like, think, Mark. You sort of like, you bring this in, like farmer's insurance. I can't, oh my God, terrible. But like, it's all about these, the impression isn't just vocally. You're looking at like, why, you know, am I rushing or dragging? It's this, he has this thing where he like sort of like shucks it on his cheeks. And so I've been messing with that. You know, the Donald Trump, I like doing, I always have this thing where Trump is like trying to hide in different countries. So it's like, oh yes, I've been coming here for Ireland my entire life. And I'm a big fan of the beautiful greenery. And he's just trying to hide from wherever, you know, you can put him in any like thing. So different accents, different Trump accents. I've been like imagining him like wearing like mustaches and like just trying to hide around. He's like, I'm just a world traveler going around in my pot of gold. Then, I mean, there's other, I like imitating, I imitate my friends. So I imitate like a lot of, you know, people that are around me more than, if I haven't met them, it's a little harder. So when you meet somebody, you can sort of really get into that.
You got a Zach Levy?
I have a Zach. I sort of have a Zach, but it's more of he's very direct, and he because he wants to. What I love about Zach is like he wants to make sure one, you get your answer, and he also wants to make sure everyone else gets their answer. So he speaks so quickly that every time Zach talks, I'm like, I'm keeping up. I'm so awesome today. I'm listening so good. They don't ask a question. Darn it. Wait. Say it again, all of it. Zach, his energy is like hard to imitate because he's like, oh yeah, no, and he'll probably be standing and he, you know, so energetic, always knows what to say. That's my Zach Levi.
Now, Hollywood has a very keen on their certain aesthetics that they want for their actors, but you have become a beacon for plus-size male representation in cinema. How does it feel to be literally an iconic man in television, and movies? And how did you move around those rigid beauty standards?
It's hard. You know, the biggest thing on that thing we did is like, how are you so big in a world like this? How are you alive? And I'm like, you must have not met a lot of Samoans because we can move. But no, to me, I've always been, I get to these points where I'm like, you look at yourself and I'm like, what have I done? What did you do to your body kind of thing? But it's usually not like that. I've always been, as long as I can still kick above my head, which now that I said it, I guess I need to show you I can kick above my head. Even in jeans. I'm just taking the thing out. Okay, so I guess it's going to be a slow, terrible kick. Okay, so, oh, shoot. Yeah, so if I can, the jeans held me back. But if I can still move, like, and I still have, like, my flexibility, don't have my cardio, and also I have my sweet badges. Sweet, by the way, my DragonCon badges. I should. Okay, you got a few more, whatever. It's fine. It's fine. But yeah, so to me, because I still feel good about myself. I have, I'm happy. I can, I don't die going upstairs, and it's really, to me, it's not just about looks. It's just like how you feel. So I do a lot of muscle. I work on a lot of people's muscles, and I work on mine constantly because I'm like, ooh, that shouldn't be feeling that way. So I like getting rid of a lot of the pain. So unfortunately, because of that, I don't realize where I'm at because I just feel like, oh, I'm loose. I can do cartwheels. We're good. So yeah, I just don't. I just be me, I'm happy who I am. Sometimes I'd like to know I can run a little farther, but it's still, I feel like there's so many big guys that can handle themselves. And I'm like, well, he's small. I'm like, okay, well, great, he can run faster, but, big guys know how to, kill zombies.
So from Dunwoody High School, like, how did you get into acting?
Ooh.
Was that something that you were like in theater nerd, or you found it a different way?
So I went to Dunwoody. I actually never graduated Dunwoody. I never graduated high school, just to make that. Someone wrote a thing, like, oh, you graduated high school in 03. I dropped out with 3 weeks left. I was so afraid I would do anything. I wasn't a great student anyway, but to me, school's great for people that know what to do with school. I knew I wanted to work in movies. I didn't know as what. I didn't care as what. I just knew I wanted to help create like this, like a fantasy for folk. To me, it's like entertainment. I love the idea. It's like, we can make anything. It's like, we can be on a spaceship right now, or, we can go be, in a, underground little town. We just make it out of cardboard and lights, and that's the joy of it. So you can just take your head out and be everywhere. So in Dunwoody, we had a lot of one-act plays, and as our teacher, Miss Barnett, and now they have a theater. Dunwoody now has a theater. I haven't seen it, but they have a big glass, and it's like a theater. I was performing on on the cafeteria stage. I remember adapting a radio play and turning that into a one act. But I wasn't like a theater nerd. I mean, also internet wasn't rocking, so I didn't whatever music was like whoever was able to show me something. And but yeah, we would do like all the school plays. I was the only, big deal, but like, this is not a big deal, but I was like the only like 9th grader that was acting. And then I stayed in the drama club for the 4 years, and all our school projects which is what got me through a lot of classes, was like, oh, write a report, or you can make a little project, in which in my case we would make video projects like high 8 tapes and, make a little movie. And then I would get, an A on that. So that helped me survive. But yeah, high school was a massive, and I was in the marching band. Like, I loved the marching band. But it was all that theatrical stuff was a big part of where it went, because it just lets you, it lets you go into that fantasy world, You're making music, we had, when we were, as a drum major, we had like a giant, like a spider and spider web on the football field, and I was on a ladder that was like way too tall. It was like a 12-step, and I'm literally on the very top. And then I was doing this for like 6 shows, and then eventually administration was like, hey, there's not a student on top of that ladder. We can't have that. And I was like doing the little Jackie Chan slide down the ladders, and my little vampire cape would float up, and it probably felt way cooler than it really was. It probably looked like, that's not cool, dude. It's not the angle you think it is. But yeah, so Dunwoody, as the social aspect, I thought was like so important. I really loved like a lot of the kids I went to school with. I didn't say that like that at the time, but like when you look back, I really did have one of those cool high schools. There's always like, in movies, there's like, oh, that's the clique. You have all these different groups, and we had our different groups, but everyone was so cool with each other. There was no like, oh, what, you study math, nerd? You know, like there's none of that. You know, it was a very, like if people had an issue with each other, it wasn't because of anything except something actually personal between the two. So when I see like those high school movies where everyone's like picking on the one kid, I'm like, if that existed, I didn't see it, but like, I feel like it wasn't. Some kids are like, it was Cooper, you didn't know. But I felt like it wasn't. I hope it wasn't.
All right, and unfortunately, we are running out of time.
Oh, wait, one more.
One more question.
Do you do your own stunts?
Do I do my own stunts? Yeah. Except the one time when I was in a thing, I had a surgery and they had to put a harness on me. But yeah, so, and I couldn't put the harness on me. So I had a buddy of mine, double as me, and it was very important I was like, don't look cool. We're gonna do this thing that's already impossible, so don't look cool when you land. Just look like, and so that was key to me. I don't like having a stunt double that's gonna look like, that's because we're playing the same character. I'm not trying to make them do a thing that I can't or can do, but you know, if my character would not do that. So I have a stunt person, which stunt people are great. A lot of my best friends are stunt people, and yeah, I have no issue having other people do my stunts. I just haven't. I've only had it the one time, but yeah, I like to do my own.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Well, I'd love to begin with a question that I know is going to be within the rules. I would love to hear about your friendship with Mary Kay Bergman.
Oh, yes. Oh, she was one of my dearest friends and my teacher, my first voiceover teacher. And she was just so encouraging and wonderful. And I wasn't on anything when I first took a class with her. I had just gotten out of theater school, and I was just fresh and wide-eyed, and she was the most nurturing, wonderful teacher. So when I actually ended up getting roles, it was so exciting because I got to be working with my teacher. And actually, Fairly Odd Parents, she was the first Timmy Turner, and I remember her also when she was in The Iron Giant. She played a lot of the character, a lot of the parts that the boy wasn't able to do. And then she also was Mrs. Cartman, so she got nominated for an Emmy against herself because the boy in Iron Giant got nominated for her performance pretty much. I mean, not taking away from his performance. I'm sure he was wonderful too, but she did all the really challenging acting stuff for that kid. So she was sort of like against herself. I just thought she was just so extraordinary. And she taught me how to voice match things, even though I'm sort of a lazy actor. I'm always like, it'll work out, we'll be fine, we'll just wing it. But she would, she had like this wonderful formula for it. But a funny story, she loved the Pirates of the Caribbean, the ride at Disneyland. and I got called back to replay, to be the voice of Pirate Red. And I was at the callback, and I was at Disney Character Animation. I was like, oh, Mary Kay, because she was the voice of Snow White. So I was like, this was your place. You were always here. What advice would you give me? I'm just talking to her in my head. And I felt her like telling me like, you need to prepare more, like get prepared. But I was thinking, prepare more. I've only got one line. It really was one line for this pirate. And so I was like, well, I guess I could prepare. She was always so prepared. And I thought, well, maybe I'll learn some pirate slang or something. So I went on the internet and started learning all this pirate stuff because I was waiting. I might as well learn something. I went in there and they're like, it's only one line. So we're just going to have you improv for, 30 minutes. 30 minutes of pirate improv. I was like, thank goodness. And Mary Kay had me do that because I knew all kinds of pirate slang. I was like, I was calling eggs cackle fruit and all this stuff, and they're like, wow, you know a lot about pirates. And I was like, yeah, it's just a curse. And yeah, I've always been really into pirates, but I wasn't. And so I booked the role, and the day that I called Dino Andrade, who's actually at DragonCon today, he was her husband, and we became very good friends, and we always, every time, like the anniversary of her passing or whatever, we check in with each other, or her birthday or things. And so I called him to tell him I got that part. And he goes, well, it's the anniversary of Mary Kay's passing today, the day that I found out about it. So I just felt like, I always feel like she's my little guardian angel, my little red-haired guardian angel. So, yeah. Yeah. And I went, I'm going to come off really unstable in this interview, but I went to a psychic once, and he was a medium, and he goes, there's a woman here who does the same weird job. I don't know what job you do, but she had that job and I was like, okay, I was thinking, oh my God, Mary Kay. And he goes, yeah, and she's, in my mind, I'm seeing her hand you this little plant, and in your hands, you take it, and in your hands, I'm watching it grow into this big plant. Do you understand that? And I was like, yes, I understand that. And he's like, she just wanted to say how proud she is of you, and that she, she's with you all the time. And I was like, oh my God. And they said, there's another lady here who's got a really weird name, like Shushi or Shishi. Well, Rusi Taylor had just passed away. And he said, and they were friends on the earth, and so he said, they're together there, and they are so happy for you. And this person with the Shishi name, she says you're going to do the same thing for her. What you did for this other woman, you're going to do for her. And I was like, okay, well, I mean, because she had just passed, and I loved her so much too. They're just both such wonderful women, and I hadn't even auditioned for anything that Rusi had done, but the voice of Martin Prince on The Simpsons came through, and I was like, I read for it, and I got it. So now when I do, it's been a few years now, but I've been doing these. Usually Martin Prince only has a couple lines here or there, but there was one episode where he had this huge character arc where he went. There was an Outward Bound thing where all the boys were being punished. The episode's called Boys in the Highlands, and it's really cool. But Martin has this mental breakdown. He's on all these medications, and you really get the backstory on Martin. And I was scared because I'm only used to doing 2 lines, and so I was like, Rusi, be with me. What would you do? How should I do this? And I really felt Mary Kay and Rusi, my little angels on my shoulders, just getting me through that. So. Anyway, it was a really remarkable time. And that guy couldn't have looked that up on the internet or anything. I didn't even audition for that. So anyway, it's very strange.
Oh, it's beautiful.
Yeah.
I love it.
We're not alone.
Steve, can you talk a bit about switching your careers?
Yes.
Talk a bit about working with Steve Dickerson.
Yes! Oh my gosh, I have 2 lives. I've been giving people stickers at this thing that have my Spotify. You can scan it, It's got my Spotify on it. And because in my spare time, which I don't have a lot of, I have 3 kids and I'm a single mom, but in my spare time I write classic country music. It's sort of like Tammy Wynette, Loretta Lynn, Dolly Parton, that kind of stuff. There's some stuff that's got a little bit of a rock and roll, rockabilly kind of edge to it. But I just played the Lonesome Rose.
Yeah,
and your friend here was here. She was in the show, and she's good friends with my partner, my music partner, Eddie Glendenning, and Deke Dickerson. She's known him. They produced my last record, and so I every time I do a panel, people are like, is there any parting words? And I'm like, follow me on Spotify, please. It seems to be the only thing that I was like, I'm not even going to be on Spotify, and then my manager was like, you are. And I was like, well, Joni Mitchell's on Spotify. And he's like, you're not Joni Mitchell. So now I'm always like, please follow me on Spotify. But it's good I write new songs every week, and I put new songs out every week. So you'll like, it's like Linda Ronstadt kind of,
Who would you say are some of your biggest musical influences for your writing or your singing style?
Well, my favorite songwriter, Tom T. Hall, is one of my favorite songs. I love a story song, and of course Dolly. You know, I just went to Dollywood, and my friends were just indulging me all day. And nothing is ever really my cup of tea. Like I go places, and I'm not really that because I have such a retro fashion sense or whatever. Usually things I don't want a T-shirt, I don't want a picture. I'm like, I'm good. But there, I was like, take a picture of me and Dolly's childhood home. Take a picture of me by this water well. Take a picture of me. It's just like, and they were just like, okay, she never asked for this, so we'll just take a picture. But yeah, Loretta Lynn and Dolly Parton, and I love a story song. I grew up listening to the Carter Family, so Johnny Cash and June Carter. I play the auto harp like June Carter, and so I got to be on June Carter's tribute album that her son John did for her. And it's so funny because if you look at the list of credits, it's like Loretta Lynn, Chris Christopherson, like all these like huge. I almost got like all these, and then it's like Grey DeLisle. Like who the hell is that?
Anchored in Love.
Anchored in Love. I did Big Yellow Peaches, and yeah, but I really literally am the only person on there that you wouldn't recognize. Like everybody else is super recognizable, but I don't care. That was just a little
They weren't Fairly Odd Parents.
Yeah, I know, that twerps. Yes. That was funny because I knew somebody who I did a tribute to Stephen Foster called Beautiful Dreamer. I did a song on there and it won a Grammy. And my old acting teacher, like from college, had that record and he was like, I never noticed that you were one of the people on it, but we love that song. And he's like, we were driving one day and I picked up he's like, I was like, who is that does that song? And he's like, I picked up the thing and I was like, oh my gosh, that's great, he's on this record. And his husband was like, what? No, he isn't. And no, she isn't. And anyway, he contacted me on Facebook. He's like, oh my God, we just realized you're on that record, Beautiful Dreamer.
Well, like when we met, I told you, it's like, I had no idea you were a voice actor.
I love that. I love that.
I only know you from music and our friends.
Oh, you've just been my angel since that night. It's so funny. Eddie's like, well, you hit it off all my friends. I was like, you have good friends. I like that. Yeah, I always say, like, if you're talking to somebody that you want to talk a lot, ask them something that people don't normally, or ask them like about their weird little thing that only they like. There's one guy that I love and he loves model trains, and so every time I talk to him, I'm like, so model train, and he'll just talk to me for hours, and so somebody was like, what's your little thing? I was like, classic country music. So anyway, I saw a guy that said that his hat said F Nashville on it, and he was in the back, he was just there supporting his friend as his friend got an autograph, and I was like, hey, do you follow We Hate Pop Country on Facebook? He's like, you're damn straight I do. I was like, oh, let me give you a sticker. I was like, you might like my music. And so he's like, I'm going to look you up. So,
yeah, I love Patsy.
Oh, yes.
Oh, to talk about the voice acting, sorry to break away. Now, I know probably nowadays you do a lot from home studios or a lot alone, but when you were in more of an ensemble, like a recording session with everyone else, were there times that were difficult to get through because either the giggles, someone was cracking jokes too much? Can you tell any of those stories being non-specific to the show?
Well, any of Butch Hartman's shows were hard to get through because he cast so many funny people and comedians and everything, and there were always John DiMaggio cracks me up, and Carlos Alazraqui. They're all like professional stand-up comics. Phil Lamar's hilarious, and yeah, we were always laughing on those shows. And also, I love to improv and just say lines that aren't even in there just to be funny. And so there were sometimes we're like, Greg, can we get one line just as written on the page, just once? And I was like, oh, all right, just once. But yeah, I do love to. Yeah, but I did a show with Amy Poehler. And it's not on strike because it's actually an old show. It's not on there anymore, so I think I can talk about it, but it was called The Mighty Bee. And we would do a whole take as written, and then we would do one where she would go, you know what, let's just do all improv. And I loved working with people that love improv because you just feel so free to do whatever you want. So, yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Hey, Greg. My name is Alan Z. So I know you mentioned comedy. I know you do that as well. So I was wondering, how would you describe your comedy style? And do you incorporate any, I guess, like, techniques that you've learned from voice acting into comedy or vice versa?
Oh, yes. I have. I'm glad you asked because I have a stand-up special coming out September 7th. It's called Thruple. I always try to bring up newer comics that don't have the advantages, because I mean, this is a heck of a side gig, this cartoon thing, so I have a little bit of finances that I can help people with, and it helps me too, and it doesn't cost me anything. Like, I'm already renting the studio, I'm doing all the ads, and I'm doing, and the lighting, and hired the crew, and it feels silly and selfish to just have me be the only one up there, so I always pick 2 more comics so that I can have, so that I'm like, you're getting a special, you're getting a special. And they share the time with me. So, yeah, so it's coming out September 7th. It's mostly about my vagina. It's so funny, people are like, oh, you're a vagina comic. I was like, no, have you seen any guys do stand-up? Everything's about theirs, so, not their vagina. Anyway, but yeah, so I mean, I do talk about it quite a bit. But it's a big part of my life. A big part. Anyway, yeah. So, but I do voices in it. I do the voice of my vagina.
She talks like this, and she has a lisp, and she's very cranky.
How did you find the voice for your vagina?
Well, one day I was in a bathroom stall, and there was a lady next to me, and she said, "Hi," and I said, "Hi," and she's like,
"What you doing?"
And I said, I'm just trying to, I'm just peeing, I guess." And she goes,
"Do you mind? I'm on the phone."
And so my friend goes, "You talked to the lady, why did you answer her?" And I was like, "I don't know." And I said, I think that's how my vagina would sound if it had a voice. And then after that sort of took off. And when in the special, I talk about how my vagina looks like an old library book, because like the spine's all broken and the pages are all torn out, and it's like I was like, my kids used it, and then like it got passed around to all my friends in college, and it's just been through a lot.
Hi, Gray. Love to see you again. We got to see you at MomoCon. You have impeccable fashion, and you even make your own jumpers. When are you possibly looking at releasing those jumpers to your fan base?
Well, I'm so protective of them that I'm like, don't copy me. So I probably am not a very good at fashion design, because I'm like, don't use this. But Vanessa Shaw is here. She was in Hocus Pocus, the beautiful blonde woman who I totally bonded with. We do all these things together on the weekends, and I just love her. But she's like, I love those jumpsuits. And I was like, you gotta get one. So she got one. I said, but don't put patches on it like me, because that's my thing. Anyway, so she's wearing one. She wore one yesterday, a denim coverall suit. But it's just that this is such a, with the kids and everything, I have such a hectic life. I'm like running a record label, raising 3 kids, doing cartoons during the week in my garage, and then every weekend I fly out on a Friday to do these. My kids are in private school. It's a big expense. I am doing this on my own. So packing was just, I hate packing even for fun things like Hawaii. So I wait till the very last minute, and then I'm like, oh God, and I throw a bunch of stuff in a bag, and then I'm there going, I can't believe, why didn't I bring anything? It's just an endless cycle. So I thought, I've got to make these coveralls. I'll put patches of all the shows that I do on them, and I'll just make 4 pairs, so I can switch them out. But every weekend I just like throw 3 of them in a bag, and I'm packed. My makeup bag's all packed. I just throw that in there, and I'm ready. So it's mostly a convenience thing, but people love them, so I'm glad.
Did you ever get your luggage that they lost at Terrificon?
I finally got it, but of course, after I was completely done with the convention. I took pictures of people in the same outfit all 3 days of the convention. But I did have a lovely day in Chicago. I was stuck in Chicago for a day, and I was going to be mad because I was like going to sleep at the airport and stuff and be like, oh, Chicago, But then I thought, hey, you're in one of the best cities in the world. Go get yourself a hotel and have a good time. And the funny thing is, I was leaving, well, everybody got filled up, all the hotels around the airport, like, because we got let out at 3 in the morning. They're like, you're not going anywhere tonight. We'll get you out tomorrow night. So it wasn't even in the morning. It was tomorrow, the next day at night. So I'm like, so I got in a cab, and this guy was like, I heard him on the phone going, oh man, this is going to be expensive. It's going to be $50 even just to get downtown. And I told him, hey, I'm going downtown. You can go with me in my cab. And he was like, really? Oh my God, thank you so much. So we split, we shared, I paid for the cab, and he said, oh, I'm going to stay with a friend nearby. So I was like, great. So he got out of the cab, and he was like, let me give you $20. I was like, no, don't you dare. And he's like, no, let me just give you 20. You saved me 30, but please. And I was like, no. But as I was like walking into the revolving door of the hotel, he threw a $20 bill at me, and I was like, oh my God, you. So anyway, I had this $20 bill that was on top of my purse. So when I get there, and the guy's like, we just sold the last room. I'm so sorry you came all the way. And I was like, are you serious? And it was at this point like 4 in the morning. And I'm like, oh my God, I'm so tired. And he goes, oh, and so then he's like, well, let me call around. So he starts calling around. And then I go, you're so sweet to do that. You didn't have to do that. And I said, here, I've got 20, because I had the $20 that was free $20. And I was like, here, take this 20. I really appreciate it. And he's like, thank you. And he's like, you know what? There's people that rented a room and I don't think they're coming. It's 4 a.m. and they were supposed to be here at 3 yesterday. So I think, I go, really? He's like, I don't think they're coming. So he's like, I'm going to give you their room. So he gave me their room, and it was this amazing room with this beautiful view. And then I was stuck in Chicago, so I was like, I'm going to have high tea at the Drake, which I've always wanted to do, but I never have time. It's like a 90-minute experience, and you can't just do part of it. You have to do the whole thing. So I was like, what else have I had to do? I got nothing to do in a great city. So I had high tea, and I wandered. It was a beautiful day, and the best part, Ray Benson from Asleep at the Wheel, this band Asleep at the Wheel, he and I are doing a project together, and he gave me these lyrics. He was like, if you can do something with this song, I will cut the song. And I'm like, okay. And he goes, the lyrics are, when you take the L out of lover, it's over. And I was like, that's a great lyric. So I was trying to say, Gray, I've tried for years. I can't think of the right thing for it. And I was trying, but I was in Chicago. I'm walking around and I see the L train. So I wrote this song called My Lover Took the L and Now It's Over. He hopped the CTA on New Year's Day. Union Station's freezing, there's no reason to stay sober. My lover took the L and now it's over. Anyway, so and it was a whole song about Chicago. We moved to Chicago in spring of 17. Anyway, it's a whole song about Chicago, but I wouldn't have seen that had I not been there. So Asleep at the Wheel's cutting my song. That's the most important thing.
Well, when is it getting released?
Oh gosh, I don't know, because Ray and I are working on this. I can't remember. I probably shouldn't say anything about that because we're waiting for the strike to be over before we can move forward on that. But Ray and I are doing a musical variety show together. So sort of like a Porter and Dolly.
Sounds great.
Yeah, it's going to be like, I have this giant wig. I got the wig maker that does Dolly Parton's wigs in England. She gave me this giant Bobby Gentry gorgeous wig. And I have these crazy dresses and I'm doing comedy and all kinds of stuff in it. So it's fun. It's going to be like Hee Haw meets Porter and Dolly.
So you were mentioning traveling around and doing these conventions so many weekends. What has been your most interesting fan interaction?
Oh, man. Oh. There's so many.
Or a few of the ones.
One time somebody left a latte, because I used to really love vanilla lattes, but then they have so much sugar. As soon as I stopped drinking, I think I lost like 20 pounds or something. I was like, wow, these are a lot of calories. But someone left one at the outside of my hotel room door, and I was just, first I was like, oh my God, how sweet. Then I was like, oh, how did they know what hotel room I'm in? And then I'm like, oh, should I be drinking that latte? I went on a whole journey. So I didn't drink the latte, but it was really nice. But I thought, like, I'm kind of freaked out now. Somebody knows exactly what room I'm in. So but there are so many really sweet things people do. One time somebody knitted me a gigantic appa. And I felt so bad because so many fans bring you these big giant gifts, and it's so sweet, but we can't get it back on the plane. But I didn't have the heart to tell the girl. She had probably spent months knitting this appa. So I was like, thank you so much. I love it. And it was gorgeous. So I was like hugging it. I took a bunch of pictures with it. I threw in some, pictures. And but then I'm like, what am I going to do with this appa? I can't throw it away because it's gorgeous. But then this girl, about 4 people later, was like, I just lost my dog, and I've been so sad. This has been the happiest thing that's happened to me. And my dog used to sleep with me every night, and I miss my dog. And I was like, oh my God, you're getting an appa. Do you love appa? She was like, oh my God, I love appa. I gave her the appa, and she was just in tears. And then later on, she wrote to me. She's like, I sleep with appa all the time, and I feel my dog with me. And it was just like beautiful circle moment. So anyway, I'm gonna cry in this interview.
Yes.
Hey there, everyone. This is Jay from Moana Nui podcast, and I have 2 wonderful cosplayers that I stopped on the street today here at DragonCon. So I'm going to let them introduce themselves. So, gentlemen, can you tell me who you guys are?
Hi, I am Walter Dean of Dean's List. I am a costume designer. I did a small project for Marvel Studios not too long ago. Marvel Becoming Dora Milaje. Check me out on YouTube and Instagram.
Hey, what's going on? I'm Bart Fox. That's with 2 R's and 2 X's. I am the creator of Cosplay Your Way. If you haven't heard about it, you better get into it.
Awesome, thank you, gentlemen. So my next question for you guys is, who are you guys cosplaying?
We are Ken. So we decided to get in on the hype of the Barbie movie. So we decided to be Ken, and then we thought we could rock that and do the shoot earlier.
And specifically, we are tennis Ken.
Yes.
Okay, so we didn't do exactly what he wears in the Barbie box, but we made our own little tweaks and twists and turns.
Right.
So we here for it, and we decided to go pink. Why not?
Love it. Sounds like they cosplay your way.
Cosplay your way.
Cosplay
right?
your way.
Love it. And so how long have you guys been going to DragonCon?
You know what? We have been going to DragonCon. Oh my God, we looked at age ourselves.
I know.
So I was a little boy.
Are you gonna say it?
Yeah, I'll say it right here. 2006.
Yes.
2006. So we've been coming strong since 2006. It's amazing all the things and changes that have happened.
Yes.
Back then, it was not that many people of color that were here. It has grown so much.
Yes.
I'm so proud
It's
of everyone.
awesome to see that
And
grow.
back then, we were just coming as
We just
Hey,
put our
man.
yeah.
And now we
just
are pretty
favorite
much-
superhero.
Yeah, and now we're like doing panels and we're judging contests. So, you know, it just shows you that with some perseverance,
Yes.
that things can happen and things can change.
And we try to grow. You know, like you said, we started out as patrons, our superhero T-shirts, simple costumes, then we started to get into more intricate stuff, and now we're just really trying to make our own marks within the cosplay community and support others who are trying to do the same.
Wow, I love it. Sound like cosplay Pokemon. You guys have just evolved over time.
Exactly.
Yes.
That's what we do. And hopefully it's not over. Hopefully we level up and improve and continue to do things like the Cosplay Your Way in Color documentary representing people of color in cosplay. It has won 2 Telly Awards so far and other numerous awards and film festivals. It's on tour right now with Geek Fest Film Festival. And we have a surprise coming up that hopefully I can share in a couple weeks.
Yes.
Awesome. And so my last question for you gentlemen is, what advice would you have for someone who's not on the DragonCon but would like to come next year?
If you have not come to DragonCon, my advice is to jump into it, like I said earlier, and please make sure your insoles in your shoes are plush and cushy and support your art and all those wonderful things, because these feet don't play.
You don't
And
take
it's
care of your
not
feet, you
a
will
game.
regret it afterwards.
It's not a game, but yeah, it's a networking event. Please come out, meet people. Don't leave out of DragonCon
Yes.
without 10 new friends. It's just ridiculous not to.
Yeah.
Love it. And thank you guys so much for the advice. You guys look amazing. Thank you again. And we look to see you enjoy the rest of your con experience.
All
Thank
right.
you.
Hey, Barbie.
So many stories left to tell, even if we have to ourselves. Can't keep history on the shelf. If they won't tell it, we will.
If this the land of the free, it was a freedom then, when they annexed Hawaii and called it Cedar Lands, without any type of payment and no signing off. Called themselves the Republic in 1894. 1.2 million acres overtaken from the native Hawaiians. When they resisted, the West retaliated in violence and erasure. The Hawaiian language is banned as part of colonialism's plan to expand, yeah.
Stuck between a rock and a hard place. Multiple bombings of Kaho'olawe as a part of their ongoing war with Asia. Used it as a place for target practice. No consent or compensation. Colonizers call for annexation. No regard for all the locals. School will never let you know. So many stories left to tell, even if we have to ourselves. Can't keep history on the shelf. If they won't tell it, we will. Too many stories left to tell, even if we have to ourselves. Can't keep history on the shelf. If they won't tell it, we will. We will.
So if you put Hawaii into perspective, well, Black and Asian history is interconnected. Considering the fight with the Pacific, then of course, versus Asia, they was treated as a middleman for war, but didn't let the Western colorism run its course, cause dark skin was a sign of dignity to core. The land was taken in the name of capitalism, when prior to it was an actual kingdom. Clap back at the system.
Stuck between a rock and a hard place. Multiple bombings of Kaho'olawe as a part of their ongoing war with Asia. Used it as a place for target practice. No consent or compensation. Colonizers call for annexation. Network out for all the locals. School will never let you know. So many stories left to tell. Even if we have to ourselves, can keep history on the shelf. If we won't tell it, we will. Too many stories left to tell. Even if we have to ourselves, can keep history on the shelf. If we won't tell it, we will. So many stories left to tell. Even if we have to ourselves, can keep history on the shelf. If we won't tell it, we will. Too many stories left to tell. Even if we have to ourselves, can keep history on the shelf. If we won't tell it, we will. We will.